My name is Paul Bird. I live in Alpharetta, Georgia, and I'm 40 years old, and I'm just retired from professional baseball about a year ago, and have been walking with Jesus since 1990, since 1991, around there, and I've learned of grace around 93, 94.
Yo me convertí como un creyente en 1990 o 1991 aproximadamente, y escuché acerca de la gracia en 1994 aproximadamente. Me llamo Paul Bird y soy un jugador de béisbol retirado y tengo 44?
40.
Y tengo 40 años de edad.
What's up with that? So, yeah, and I've just learned over the years performing from acceptance versus performing for acceptance. And after God started showing me things through my kids, I was much softer on my teammates. And all of a sudden, people would start to come to me and ask me questions. Instead of them being turned off by me, they become very attracted to, why do you love everyone? Why are you, and they noticed, I guess, the difference in the love of Christ in me now versus Paul Bird trying to perform for Jesus so Jesus would like him. And that's a huge difference.
Me he dado cuenta que hay una gran diferencia en mi vida entre lo que es obrar o actuar para Dios y actuar desde Dios. Y puedo decir que desde entonces, desde que aprendí o entendí acerca de la gracia de Dios a través de mis hijos, mi relación con Dios yo la entendí desde la perspectiva como padre. Puedo entender cómo Dios se relacionaba conmigo.
For me, I think was performing for Jesus versus performing from him, and then I think when people saw the love of Christ in me, they were much more attracted to that versus Paul Bird performing.
Puedo decir que al principio era Paul Bird simplemente obrando o actuando y para ganar aceptación de la gente, pero ahora, después de haber conocido acerca de la gracia de Dios, que empecé a actuar ya no para Dios, sino desde Dios, me daba cuenta que yo era mucho más amoroso con la gente y la gente se empezó a acercar a mí.
And I think so, before when I was a Christian, I wasn't real free. Well, I take that back. I was free. I just didn't know I was free, and I didn't experience that freedom. The more I learned about grace, how much he loved me, seeing me as his kid, the more I talked to him, the more I actually experienced the freedom that Christ came for.
Puedo también decir que yo antes de conocer a Cristo, de conocer el Evangelio, no era libre, pero ahora, sabiéndome aceptado y amado por Dios, realmente he experimentado esa libertad que Cristo murió para darnos.
Yeah, and I think that's helped, not just in work, but as a father, I have to give myself grace, and then I give my wife grace. It's not just, we're all messed up a little bit, and when she was able to show me grace, now I'm able to give it back in every area of my life. A friend told me, you can't give what you don't have, and so I guess one of the things I have learned through this journey is you need grace, you need the life of it, more than just someone talking about it.
Me he dado cuenta que tú en la vida necesitas gracia, necesitas ministrar gracia y también recibir gracia. Yo ministro gracia a mi esposa, ella manifiesta constantemente gracia hacia mí, y pienso que eso es lo que se necesita experimentar y vivir en su gracia.
All right, so I grew up in Louisville, Kentucky.
Yo crecí en Louisville, Kentucky.
And my father was a police officer.
Mi padre era un oficial de policía.
Yeah, but I loved baseball, so I was always picking up objects in the living room, throwing around, breaking lamps and all kinds of stuff.
Yo siempre amé mucho el béisbol y siempre de niño andaba por la casa recogiendo cosas y lanzando cosas en el aire.
So my dad said, "Hey, I think this guy's a ball player," and he put down a little handkerchief and he would squat down, and so I would throw, baseball to him when I was like 2 or 3 years old.
Y mi padre dijo, este niño tiene un amor tan grande él va a ser un jugador de béisbol, y mi papá siempre jugaba conmigo.
Yeah, so I grew up loving baseball because I think it was an attachment to, hey, I get to spend time with my dad.
Yo creo que relacioné el béisbol con pasar tiempo con mi padre y desarrollé una gran pasión por esto.
Yeah, and then my dad would always take me to Churchill Downs, which is in Louisville, Kentucky, where they have the Kentucky Derby, horse racing, a lot of horses. And that's another thing, you know, I love to do.
Y mi padre también me llevaba a las carreras de caballo, es otra cosa que a mí me encanta hacer.
Yeah. But over the years, my dad was always very tough on me. He loved me, so he was tough on me. And then I had a lot of friends, and I would play sports and run around with the crowd. And I quickly kind of learned that the better you do in life, or the better you do on the baseball field, or the better you do in school, the more people like you.
Y a pesar de que yo amo mucho a mi padre, era un poco duro conmigo. Tenía muchos amigos y yo aprendí que entre mejor, si eres mejor en el béisbol, si eres mejor en las cosas que haces en tu vida o tienes éxito, la gente te va a querer más.
That sounds incredible. That sounds really good. But,
Él dice que a él le gusta mucho mi acento y que le suena muy bonito como hablo.
See, I've had a year and a half of Spanish at college, but it didn't sound that good. So,
Yo tuve 1 año y medio de español, pero no suena igual.
So as I grew up over the years, let's just say that I became a performer, you know, both on and off the field.
Podría decir que tanto dentro del campo como fuera del campo me volví como alguien muy orientado hacia las obras, hacia el hacer mejor cada día.
And you could talk about whatever you wanted, and you could talk about not accepting me based on my performance, but I learned something totally different. I learned that to be liked, to be loved, that you had to do things correctly, be really good at something, or you had to bring something to the table, or you were really special based on what you did.
Y yo aprendí desde siempre a que yo iba a ser aceptado o querido por la gente basado en lo que yo hacía, no quien yo era, sino ser aceptado por la gente por lo que yo hacía.
So when I very first heard the gospel was in 1988, and I had long blonde hair, and let's call it a mullet. Is there a Spanish word for mullet? Where it's like a buzz cut up top and real long curly hair in the back?
No, but I can see it. What year was it?
1988. And so this guy asked me, shared the gospel with me, and he said, you know, that if I were to die tonight, you know, meaning me, why would God let me into heaven? Mm-hmm. And I said, because I'm a good dude. And I said that while I was twirling my long blonde mullet, you know, and I really meant it.
Bueno, en 1988 fue la primera vez que escuché el Evangelio y cuando este hombre me preguntó ¿por qué crees que Dios te dejaría entrar en el cielo? ¿Por qué crees que sería salvo? Y yo le dije, en ese entonces tenía un pelo muy largo y tenía como rizado mi pelo y yo recuerdo que estaba jugando con mi pelo rizado y decía, bueno, Dios me dejará entrar en el cielo porque yo soy un tipo muy cool, un tipo muy bueno.
Yes. So, you know, that's really what I thought, you know, don't kill anybody, be nice, you know, and help old ladies across the street, you know, and just be a good person. Really.
Yo creía que todo se trataba de ser una buena persona, de ayudar a cruzar a una viejita a la calle o siempre a hacer cosas buenas o no matar a alguien y eso era todo.
Yeah, so and then me being an athlete, I was playing college baseball, I wanted to play pro baseball, and it just made no sense to me that your good deeds wouldn't count. And it didn't make sense to me that someone would like me apart from, you know, me not doing good deeds. It made no sense because there was nothing in the world that showed that to me. You know, talking about it's one thing, but there was nothing in the world that showed that to me.
Y para mí no tenía sentido que mis buenas obras o mi buen comportamiento no contaba para mi salvación, no contaba entre mi relación con Dios. Yo era un atleta en el colegio y luego para ir a la universidad yo quería jugar béisbol profesionalmente.
Yeah. So about 3 or 4 years went by and I could not get Jesus off my heart. And I could not explain why. I could not tell you why I knew that he was the Christ, but I just knew, and I could not get him off my heart.
Y durante 3 o 4 años aproximadamente, yo seguía pensando en Jesús y yo sabía que él era el Cristo, yo sabía que esto era real y no lo podía sacar de mi corazón.
Yeah, so I said the prayer to receive Jesus, we'll just call it the prayer to receive Jesus into my heart about 3 or 4 years later. And I hold the record for saying the prayer. I've said it like 35, 40 times because I never knew when I became a Christian, because I would still have sin in my life and struggle with certain things, and I would say, oh, I'm not a Christian because I've still got issues, I've still got problems. Maybe I didn't mean the prayer as much as I thought I did. Let me say it again. Mm-hmm. So I said, maybe I'll say it again, and maybe I'll try to mean it more, and I would try as hard as I could to mean it, and I would say the prayer again. So for like 2 years, because my behavior, wasn't so great at times, I found myself saying the prayer over and over again.
Podría decir que hice la oración de salvación o de recibir a Jesús en mi vida por 35 o 40 veces o más, porque yo creía que no lo dije con sentimiento, cuando lo dije realmente no lo sentía, porque yo veía pecados en mi vida, veía fallas de comportamiento y yo la volvía a repetir cada vez diciéndolo de corazón.
Yeah, so eventually I think I just learned, that God is who He says He is, and that He loved me, and that it was that I was okay.
Y eventualmente entendí que Dios es quien dice que es y que yo estaba bien con Él, así como soy.
Yeah, but I still struggled with trying to perform for God, because I thought that the better that I would do for Him, He would like me better.
Pero yo de alguna u otra manera yo pensaba que lo que yo hacía por Dios, o si yo me portaba bien, Él me iba a querer un poco más. Todavía luchaba con esta mentalidad en mí.
So I get drafted by the Cleveland Indians, and I go and I put scripture in my glove. I start sharing scripture with everybody. I start reciting verses in the outfield. I started sharing with people. Like, I would drive up to somebody and they would be next to me in a car, and I would actually talk to them. I remember getting out one time and handing somebody a tract. I was like, no fun to be around at all, because I was beating everybody up with the gospel and with Jesus. But I really, really thought, man, I want to outdo this other Christian, and I want God to like me better.
Yo firmé un contrato, empecé a trabajar jugando béisbol con los Indians de Cleveland, y en ese tiempo yo no era una persona muy agradable con la cual salir, porque yo trataba de presionar y de poner la Biblia, imponer la Biblia y el Evangelio sobre otros cristianos, o sobre mis compañeros de equipo, o sobre la gente que con la cual yo me relacionaba.
Yeah, so, but then I started to learn about grace, and this was really key for me. I had gotten married, and when I got married, there were certain things like, and I'll just tell you, I've written a book about this, or just different struggles that I had, but like one of them was pornography, and it was horrible, horrible sin, but I was on the road and looking at things I shouldn't be looking at, and I thought my wife was going to divorce me, and so I had to, the Holy Spirit just worked inside of me and ended up confessing what I was struggling with.
Y por un tiempo yo ya me había casado, yo luché con la pornografía, yo he escrito algunos libros acerca de esto, compartiendo mi historia. Yo creía que mi esposa iba a divorciarse de mí, pero más bien el Espíritu Santo me guió a ser abierto y a confesar esta situación por la que yo estaba atravesando.
Yeah, and so I thought she was going to divorce me, and she looked at me and said, "Divorce you?" She said, "No, I've married a godly man." And I said, "A godly man?" I said, "Did you just hear what I said to you?" And she said, "Yeah, I did. I heard." She said, "But a godly man is not somebody that doesn't struggle with sin. A godly man is somebody who's honest with his wife." And she said, "Thank you for telling me. Now we can work on this together."
Yo pensaba que mi esposa quería divorciarse de mí, pero cuando ella escuchó mi confesión, ella me dijo, yo no me voy a divorciar de ti, yo me he casado con un hombre de Dios. Y yo le dije, ¿yo, un hombre de Dios? ¿Y no escuchaste lo que te estoy contando? Ella me dijo, sí, un hombre de Dios no es alguien que no tiene sus luchas y conflictos. Un hombre de Dios es alguien que es honesto acerca de sí mismo.
Yeah, so I was blown away by that somebody would accept me in a marriage despite poor behavior. And so it doesn't mean that I just threw in the towel and said, oh, okay, then I'll do whatever I want and you'll accept me. But her loving me through that actually started to change my behavior because she loved me.
Y me impactó que alguien, que alguien me podía aceptar y me podía amar a pesar de mi comportamiento tan, algo que yo consideraba un comportamiento muy negativo. Y más bien no quiere decir que yo empecé a actuar y hacer lo que yo quería y ella me iba a aceptar porque yo soy así. Más bien su amor y el hecho de que ella me amó a través de esta situación me ayudó a ser sanado y a poder corregir este comportamiento.
Yeah, so it was a really cool experience for me, and we had a little boy shortly afterwards, within a year later, and he was this beautiful little boy named Grayson, who you met earlier, and my wife is half Chinese, and so we were really nervous when the baby was getting born because I have a big forehead. And I thought, if I have a little girl that has a big forehead, she's going to be really mad at me.
Y con mi esposa estábamos, tuvimos un año después, tuvimos un hijo, Grayson, tuvimos un hijo que se llama Grayson. Y bueno, él es un niño, pero yo decía, mi esposa es mitad china, y yo creía que, como yo tengo una frente muy ancha, muy grande, yo dije, si es que mi hijo no es hijo, sino es hija, me va a odiar para siempre si es que ya tiene una frente como la mía.
Yeah. And also with her being half Chinese, there's a little bit of red hair in my family. And I thought, if we have a red-haired Chinese boy, I've never seen anything like that, he's going to be mad at me too.
Y yo, siendo mi esposa mitad de descendencia, la mitad de su descendencia viene de una familia china, y como ellos también tienen un poco de rasgos de cabello color rojizo, y si es que mi hijo salía con pelo rojo y con rasgos chinos, yo nunca había visto un niño chino con pelo rojo, entonces me hubiera odiado también.
So out comes this little boy, and we named him Grayson after a name that my father used to call me. And he was a beautiful, red-haired, with her eyes, Chinese-looking little boy with a big forehead. And he was beautiful.
Bueno, y mi hijo realmente era hermoso. Cuando yo lo vi, tenía el cabello rojo y tenía sus ojos con sus rasgos chinos y con una frente ancha, pero él era muy hermoso.
And the cool thing about it is, as my wife had a little belly, I read a book that said at 4 months they're growing fingernails, and at 4.5 months they can hear you talk to them and everything like that. So I would get down next to her belly and I would talk to my son and say, hey buddy, I can't wait to see you. When are you going to come see me? When are you going to come out? And I didn't know if it was a boy or a girl, but I would get down there and just talk, sometimes boy, sometimes girl, and just talk to the baby.
Yo había escuchado que a partir de los 4 meses los bebés cuando están en el vientre ya pueden escucharte, y yo siempre me ponía cerca de su vientre y yo le hablaba a mi hijo y le decía, hola pequeño, ya no puedo esperar a que salgas de ahí, no puedo esperar a conocerte.
Yeah, so when he came out, and I remember looking at him, and I had never loved anything so much in all my life.
Y yo recuerdo cuando él nació y yo lo vi, recuerdo que nunca me di cuenta que nunca había amado a nada ni a nadie tanto como yo amaba a este bebé.
Yeah, so he was screaming, and the doctor took this suction thing, got all this stuff out of his throat, and he was screaming, and they put him under a heat lamp. So I didn't know what to do, so I went over to him, and I put my little hand down, and he reached up and he grabbed it, and I said, hey buddy, I said, I couldn't wait to come, for you to come see me, And I said, how are you doing, man? What's going on? And you know what he did? He shut up.
Oh.
He stopped crying. Oh. And the doctor said, have you been talking to him? And I said, yeah, I have. And he goes, yeah, he says, he knows your voice. He's heard it before. And he said, now stand away from him and let him cry. So I backed up, and I was like, what? Here's my son who's just born. I can't wait to see him. And you say I got to get away from him. So I stood back, and he let out a scream like he had never heard before. Like I had never heard before.
Y cuando mi hijo nació, yo vi que el doctor le puso bajo en una parte donde mantienen a los bebés calientes, pero el momento que él lo alejó de nosotros, el bebé empezó a llorar, empezó a gritar mucho. Y yo me acerqué donde estaba él y le dije, hola pequeño, ¿cómo estás? Y puse mi mano sobre él y él agarró con su dedo, con su mano agarró mi dedo y dejó de llorar inmediatamente cuando yo me acerqué. Y el doctor se acercó a nosotros y me dijo, ¿has estado hablando con tu hijo desde que él estaba en el vientre? Y yo le dije, sí. Y el doctor me dijo, él dejó de llorar porque él conoce tu voz y cuando te escuchó dejó de llorar. Hazte para atrás y vas a ver cómo él reacciona. Entonces yo le solté, me fui para atrás y mi hijo volvió a llorar y hizo un grito muy fuerte.
Yeah, so I think for me, I looked back at that little boy as he screamed, and he had never done anything good or bad or whatever. I loved him. I loved him because he was mine, and I just loved him. And he had, my blood running through him, and he was just beautiful. And I didn't deserve that little boy. The night that I confessed that to my wife, which the Holy Spirit just brought that out of me, is the night that we conceived him. And we named him Grayson, after a nickname my dad had called me. And, he's like the Grace son. And I never even thought of that until a couple of years later. But the whole thing for me made no sense, because why would my wife accept me, love me? We have a child. And now all of a sudden, I am so blessed, despite poor behavior.
Yo recuerdo haber visto a mi pequeño hijo y haber pensado, yo le amo, él no ha hecho nada, ni bueno ni malo, para que yo le ame, yo simplemente le amo porque es mío, porque por sus venas corre mi sangre, porque yo le amo porque es mío. Y yo pensaba, porque la noche que yo le confesé a mi esposa este problema que yo tenía con la pornografía, esa misma noche fue concebido mi hijo. Y yo no entendía por qué yo había sido tan bendecido a pesar de todo esto.
Yeah. And the difference for me was God knew that I needed to experience grace, not just have someone talk about it, but I needed someone to give me grace. And if you can't give what you don't have, it's hard to give grace to someone else if you haven't been given it yourself.
Dios quería que yo manifestar su gracia a mí. Dios quería que yo experimente lo que es la gracia, porque es una cosa que te lo digan y es otra cosa el realmente experimentarla. Otra cosa que dijo antes era que su hijo se llama, I forgot to tell your son's name. Su hijo se llama Grayson, y Grayson significa hijo de gracia. Era el mismo apodo que mi padre me solía llamar cuando yo era niño. Le pusimos ese nombre a mi hijo.
Yeah, so that was huge for me. And the difference in me after learning about grace was, before I performed for God, performing for His acceptance, and after I performed from His acceptance. In other words, I wasn't performing because I knew He liked me. I just learned about the Bible and learned about Jesus and prayed because I wanted to.
Puedo decir que yo antes vivía una vida de obrar o actuar para Dios, y puedo decir que desde ese momento empecé a actuar desde Dios. Primero fue para Él, ahora era desde Él.
Yeah. Years later, when my son was 2 or 3, I was pitching for Philadelphia. And I pulled my socks up all the way past my knees, so I had these big red socks, and I had a really, really bad game.
Yo una vez estaba jugando para Filadelfia y tenía unas medias, me subí unas medias rojas hasta acá. Bueno, ese fue un muy mal juego.
Yes, and I just gave up, had a horrible, horrible game.
Me fue muy mal.
Thank you. And so I got home, and my wife said, you know, I want to show you something. And I was really, really mad. And she said, I want to show you something. And she took me to the back bedroom and she opened up the door. And my son Grayson was there asleep, sitting there holding his bat. And she pulled the covers back. And he had pulled his socks up over his knees because he wanted to be just like his dad on a night when I was horrible.
Esa noche me había ido muy mal, pero cuando yo llegué a mi casa llegué furioso y mi esposa me dijo, ven a la habitación de atrás porque quiero mostrarte algo. Ahí estaba mi hijo en su cama con su bate y él se había puesto las medias rojas hasta acá, justo como yo, y él me dijo, me puse esto porque quiero ser tal y como es mi papá.
Yes. And so 2 years later, we would have another son named Colby, who is a fun basketball player, happy-go-lucky, makes the world a better place. And I've learned through my 2 boys that even when they would do things bad at times, I would be laughing. You know, I would have to correct them, but I would see them do something silly or stupid, or have to do. And I remember at times correcting them, where I would have to look away because I was laughing.
Y bueno, luego tuve un hijo llamado Kobe, después de un tiempo más, y me he dado cuenta en el pasar de los años que cuando yo tengo que corregirles porque ellos hacen algo malo, bueno, en mi interior me estoy riendo y muchas veces tengo que virar mi cara para reírme porque les estoy corrigiendo, pero por dentro me estoy riendo cuando hacen alguna tontería o cuando hacen algo malo.
And I kind of realized that if I could look on them as messed up as I am and love them with the love that I had for them, you know, what did God feel about me? And I think that really, really blew me away. And I started to understand the gospel as a love story versus a system of rules and regulations to follow.
Y yo me di cuenta que cómo yo amaba a mis hijos y cómo a pesar de todos mis errores y todo el desastre que yo era, yo así, y hagan lo que hagan mis hijos, yo así les amaba. Yo decía, ¿cómo será el amor de Dios? ¿Cómo Dios nos ama a nosotros? Y el Evangelio no se trata de reglas y regulaciones.